Hi everyone, today we're quickly going to look at box and whisker plots. It's something that you did for the first time this year, and I know it can be quite daunting and quite strange to try and figure out, so hopefully this video can help you a little bit. So first of all, something very important for us to remember is that you will not need to be able to draw one of these. I know that sometimes it stresses you out how to do this, so you are very lucky in the sense that if you do get this in a test or exam, it will already be drawn for you and you will merely need to be able to interpret what is going on in your box and whisker plot and also to be able to locate 5 very important values which we will teach you just now. Remember, this is still a data set. So what that means is it's still data that was collected the same way you've been taught since grade 10. It's still data that had to be ordered or organized. In this case, it's already been organized for you in ascending order, and you cannot see all the values. So this means that the data that you see in here has already been summarized. When we look at things, we need to be able to locate. So obviously locate means find. So this means this is something we should be able to see if we look at the box and whisker plot. So first of all, we'll need to find the minimum value, then the maximum value, the lowest and the highest. Remember that the data has already been ordered for you, so finding these two should be quite easy. We need to be able to find the median, which is the same median we've always worked with, which is in the middle of a data set. And remember, the data has been organized already, so they did half the work for you already. Median is also sometimes known as Q2. Then we have Q1, which is the lower quartile, and we have Q3, which is the upper quartile. As I said earlier, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 very important things you need to be able to find. Right, so if we look at a basic layout of a box and whisker plot, you will see here to your left the minimum value, and here you will see the maximum value. Lower quartile or Q1, median, upper quartile or Q3. So if we use some logic, the median is therefore Q2. Sorry for the ugly handwriting. So now we can start looking at how we are going to ask and answer these questions. So first of all, the minimum and the maximum. Here's another example of a box and whisker plot. This one is about the test scores for a maths test. So this means the learners wrote the test, the educator then went on and collected all the data and they summarized it for you in this box and whisker plot. So in this case, the minimum score that was achieved would be 10 and the maximum score that was achieved would be 60. Therefore, minimum of 10, maximum of 60. Here at the bottom, you'll also see the range, and the range will then be, same as always, 60 minus 10, which gives you a range of 50 marks for this test. Right. Just again, the range remains the same concept, the maximum value minus the minimum, or the highest minus the lowest. Okay, next up is our median. Median, we now know, is also known as Q2, and that means it's in the middle of your box and whisker plot. So if we look at the same test that we had here, the median, or Q2, we would just read off down like that, which gives us a median of 35. So we've done 3 of the important terms and values you need to be able to locate. The last 2 that we have to do will be the upper and the lower quartiles. So remember, the lower quartile can be described as Q1 and the upper quartile can also be called Q3. So luckily, you'll see that we do the same thing when we read the values down. We just read down and we read down. We'll go to the test example again just now. But now you'll see that over here, there's something called the interquartile range, or IQR. Now, if we look at range, that was the maximum value minus the minimum value. So if we have to work out the interquartile range, it will be Q3 minus Q1. So just looking at this example again, Q1 would be a nice 20, Q3 would be 50. So if we look at the interquartile range, so when we determine the interquartile range, or the IQR, it will be the value that you found for Q3 minus the value that you found for Q1. This indicates the middle 50% of your data, which is very important to remember. It's not the entire data set, it's only the middle 50% of your data. If your IQR is low, so if the value that you get as your answer here is low, it will mean that your data is clustered. Therefore, it means that your data will be found close together and not far apart. Okay, so if we look at our maths test again, Q3 was 50, Q1 was 20, so the interquartile range would be 50 minus 20, which gives us 30. If we move on, let's just quickly check in that we're all still on the same page. We have now gone over how to locate the minimum value, the maximum value, Q2 or the median, the lower quartile or Q1, and the upper quartile or Q3. We also snuck in there how to calculate the range, which is the max minus the min, and the IQR, which is Q3 and Q1. So you've basically now already gone over how to locate the important values. Now we'll just need to look at how we can interpret these box and whisker plots. So what is very important for us to see, first of all, is that your data is divided into 4 parts, 4 equal groups. So if your data set is 100%, and it's divided into 4 parts, it means that every quartile group like this is going to represent 25% of the data. Which means if I say from Q1 to the lower whisker, so from Q1 to my minimum, it will be 25%. Which means that 25% of the values in my data set will be lower than Q1. This will then be another 25%, which will mean that now 25 and 25 is 50. It means that 50% of the values in my data set will be lower than Q2. And you guessed it, this is another 25%. So that means from here all the way through to the minimum would be 75% of the values would therefore be lower than Q3, which means the opposite is also true. So therefore now 25%, this is a horrible color, 25% of the data values will be higher than Q3, another 25, so 50%, another 25, so 75% of the values will be higher than Q1. If we look at something like this, just again, your data is divided into 4 parts of 25% each. 25% found below Q1, 50% below Q2, 75 below Q3. Okay, so let's look at how your data is distributed. So, normal distribution would mean, that's the one here at the top. Normal distribution means you have your median over here, and basically what that does is it divides your box in the middle, and these 2 parts are equal. If you have one that is positively skewed, this is still my median, but now the distance from Q1 to Q2 is a lot smaller than from Q2 to Q3. If it is negatively skewed, it's the opposite. Then we will have from Q2 to Q3 being the smaller part of the box, and from Q1 to Q2 being the larger part of the box. Something that is very important is if a box is skewed, you cannot assume that the larger side has more data values. This is very important because each one of these different parts will be representing 25% of your data set. So let's quickly look at one example before we give you a chance to practice. So first of all, the interpretation of box and whisker plots. If we look at the example we have in front of us, this is about the age of the Best Actress Award winners. So let's quickly go. Minimum, maximum, Q1, Q2, Q3. I hope you were able to identify all 5 of those important values. If we look at how to interpret this, however, we can see that it is positively skewed because this part of the box is much smaller than this part of the box. And what that means is that the ages of the younger actresses are closer together. So if these are your younger actresses, because the median would be in the middle, it just means that their ages are closer together than the ages of the older actresses. I hope you found this useful. I have compiled a small activity sheet for you where you can now try to answer questions about box and whisker plots.